Well, here we are, and welcome back to Will Henry's workshop, where we're going to take the next step on fitting that 22 match barrel to the Stiller Action. Right now we're going to chamber. I'd already set the barrel up for chambering, and before I start the job, I double check. I put a dead center in, which is what I'll use to drive the reamer, or center the reamer. And so before I do anything else, I check it with the dial gauge. I sweep it around the center to make sure that it is sitting on center, and it is. So, and then having done that, it's just a matter of reaming this. And when I ream rim fires, I'll run the lathe at 240 RPM, which is a little faster than I'll do it for most center fires. It's become common practice, I guess, to run everything at 200 plus, but I'm not comfortable with it for the bigger calibers, so I still run them at between 90 and 150. But anyway, with this, I'll run it at 240. I use rigid nuclear threading oil, and although a friend of mine who's probably a much more experienced machinist than I said you could probably use motor oil and it worked just fine, and I have no reason to doubt what he says, but nonetheless rigid is what I've got and rigid is what I use. And so in this case I've got this tenon is at 1.026, which is longer than it has to be, and I'll be cutting the chamber to where I have a rim recess that is about 17 thousandths of an inch deep, and then and that'll give me the correct headspace, and then it'll be just a matter of facing this off so it clears the bolt. So without further ado, here we go. Now the reamer I use is the Winchester Model 52D spec reamer. I just kind of like it. I'm a bit of a Winchester fan, so there you go. There are an abundance of different reamers for 22 long rifle. And this is just one of them. Just a little more. Now, before I started reaming, I always, with 22 reamers, just like any other reamer, I run my fingernail along the each cutting edge and make sure that there are no burrs or nicks or any chips that have welded themselves onto the edge. And if there are, then I'll clean them out with a little triangular stone. In this case, I'll go in, about halfway or a little better, and then we'll pull that out, blow out the chip. When you're doing a 22, it's just like doing a center fire, except that everything's miniature. And little reamers, little cutters, little chips. So, but other than that, the procedure's about exactly the same. nice and clean so far. So again, between cuts, I'll just run my fingernail along each one of those cutting edges just to make sure they're clean. Otherwise you end up with a mark in the chamber, and that's the other thing with 22, you don't have the opportunity to polish that out. Now with a center fire, there again I can just shove the reamer in until it makes contact and then lock down the tailstock. But with the rimfire reamer, since you're cutting so little, I don't dare do that, so I have to stop short and then kind of sneak up on it until it starts cutting. Again, I'll cut 3/8 of an inch or so. Now I'm getting pretty close to when the rim's going to start cutting, so I'll pull out and clean again. Now, there are some of the builders of very accurate rimfire bench rest rifles who advocate reaming without a pilot, and the truth of the matter is that they build such fine rifles that it's pretty hard to argue with that. And check all the edges. And now at a glance, I've noticed that my battery on the camera is just about to give out the ghost. So that's where this one's going to end, and we're going to pick up after I change the battery. And so that'll be a different video, unless I can get my editing program to start with. We live in a kind of a remote area, and our internet service isn't anywhere nearly as good as we'd like it to be, and consequently a lot of this stuff isn't working real well. So but anyway, once again, get the remote. We'll like I say, we'll pick up where we left off after I change the battery, and that'll be in the next video. So until then, good evening. Hey, once again, welcome to Will Henry's workshop, where it might be a struggle, but eventually we get it done. So, as you recall, I was in the middle of chambering this 22 long rifle when the camera battery decided to give up the ghost. So, but now we've got in a fresh battery, and we're approaching our final cut. And so before I do that, I'm just going to double check my measurements, because as they say, okay, back again, yeah, in the interest of being certain, I just want to double check those measurements, and sure enough, I have to cut the rim in 13 thousandths of an inch to give me 43 thousandths, and I'll actually go 14, so I have 44, and then like I say, when I tighten up, that should take care of that extra thousandth. So here we go. This will probably take 2 cuts. I'll go until I touch and then cut the proper amount after that. Okay, let's see what just barely touched there, so I should be able to, at this point, cut my 13 thousandths. So I'll set my tailstock reel to 0, and then more oil. Okay, there I'm at 7, so I've got to cut another 6. And now cutting 6 is just a little difficult, so what I do to do that is I just push the reamer in with the lathe not turning. And then I just turn that in, turn the hand wheel in by hand while turning the reamer. is frosty. I'm 1/1000th of an inch short. So again, there we go, 14 thousandths, which is exactly what I was after. Like I say, I should be able to tighten that extra thousandth out of it. So for all intents and purposes, that part of the job's done. And so we'll be pulling that out. And then now I can cut and crown that barrel. And then I'll be able to check the weight. As you recall, we had, I think I had about 4 ounces or a little less than 4 ounces to play with, or to get rid of. And hopefully I've done that. And we'll see what transpires. So until then, have a good evening, and I'll see you next time.